My name is Mrs. Jamie Jackson, and I want to introduce you to my flipped classroom. Some of you have probably heard of a flipped classroom before. Some of you maybe have never heard of a flipped classroom, and others of you may have participated in a flipped classroom before. What I want to introduce to you is exactly what's going to happen in my flipped classroom, as many of the flipped classrooms are a little bit different. So to first introduce you to the classroom, what I want to do is briefly say this is what a normal classroom is. What many of you may be familiar with in a classroom is the teacher standing at the front of the room, students sitting in their desks, and the teacher lecturing from the front of the room, and sometimes the students get it, and sometimes all they're hearing is the peanuts, teacher, wah wah, wah wah, wah wah. So, they get that lecture in class, and then the teacher usually gives them homework to take and apply that content that they got in class. When the student gets home, they're sitting at their desk, trying to do their homework, and they sit there and say, I can't even remember how to do this. I had class second period. It's now 8 o'clock at night, and I cannot remember how to do this application piece. So then they go to class the next day. The teacher has to take much more time on this, and it just starts snowballing in the fact that you just don't have enough time to get everything in and for the students to understand it at the level that they need to. So what my flipped classroom is going to look like ultimately is that at first students are going to take and preload the information. So they're going to go home, they're going to read from the textbook. They might do some lecture videos, watch some lecture videos at home, and get that content, okay? Get the basic content, the vocabulary, the initial process of how something works. And then they're going to take and say, okay, I get this, but I still need some clarification on this piece. From there, we're going to come to class, and as a class, we can then have a discussion on the content. We can discuss the questions that the students still have. We can delve a little bit deeper into that content, and then from there, students can actually start working in groups, can start helping each other out with their understanding of the content. Here, we have a group of students who are working on a group activity on adaptations of beak sizes, and what's going to be best to crack a hard nut or a hard seed versus a soft berry. From there, they're actually taking pliers and things like that to try to crack them, and they can actually see how that happens. A lot of times this piece has been removed from the class because there just isn't time. The teacher sits, the teacher lectures, the teacher gives the students the content, they don't understand it when they go home, so the teacher has to the next day take and re-lecture, re-teach, and then we don't have time for that application piece. So this actually allows us to pull that application piece back into the classroom. Some of the advantages to a flipped classroom and why I decided to flip my own classroom is, first of all, students can take the time that they need to with the lecture. Those students who normally sit in a class and have to ask the teacher multiple times to slow down or repeat something because they didn't get it, and sometimes the other students in the class are sitting there going, come on, we've already got this. That student can actually take the time that they need to view this lecture. They can pause it, they can stop it along the way, they can get those notes down, and then they can restart the lecture. Another piece that's helpful is that those lower level thinking skills are the things the students are doing on their own. Now they're able to preload with the content, and then we do those higher level thinking skills in the classroom where the teacher is there to kind of help facilitate that higher level thinking skill. Instead of having the parents try to facilitate it, and a lot of times I get parents who say, I haven't even looked at biology because biology isn't related to my field of study that I'm working in now. I haven't even looked at biology since I was in high school or since I was in college. And so because of that, a lot of times parents have issues helping the students, and they have to reteach themselves before they can help the students. So this helps and allows us to do lower level thinking skills at home with the higher level thinking skills in the classroom with the teacher. It also allows me as the teacher to provide more differentiation in the classroom. Instead of looking at my students as a whole within the one classroom, I can look at them as individuals, divide them into groups that will help them learn better. If I have some students who need a little more direct instruction, need me to be there with them to help them understand something, I can put them into a group together. If I have students who have already got this and are ready to move on, I can give them another application piece and they can kind of go and do an inquiry piece on their own. And so this allows me to hit all the different levels in the classroom. Instead of just teaching to the middle, which is what most teachers do when you're lecturing and you're hitting, when you're doing a lecture in a normal classroom, a lot of times you're just teaching to the middle level. So now we can hit both the lower and the higher level students also. Again, as I said, this allows for more application in the classroom. One of my biggest things with science is that science is not just learning content. Science is actually a process. Science is doing things. And that's one of the things that has been taken out of the science classroom a lot. When the content levels that they needed to understand started going up, we started removing those application pieces and those lab pieces. But science is a process, and science is actually doing something. So to be able to do that, I have decided to flip so that I have more time in class to do those labs, to do those application pieces. And so science students can actually see that science is actually doing something and following that process. Finally, students here in Florida have to take in biology an end of course exam. At the end of the year, they're going to be tested on every single standard that we cover in class this year. Because of that, if I can give them a better understanding in the classroom, they can remember it from August until May. With this, once you start doing something and applying it, you remember it better. You have a better understanding of it. And so this is another reason why I've flipped my classroom. Instead of just giving the students information, I've given it back to the students for them to be able to do a lot of understanding within the classroom itself. Finally, a couple of frequently asked questions that I get all the time are, one, what if we don't have the internet? Well, there are lots of options if you don't actually have the internet and can't get these videos. The first one is that we have the school library here. We have the county library where students can go view these lectures. Many students actually think internet as in a home computer. Some of them forget that, oh, we have a smartphone, so I can view it on the smartphone versus on an actual computer, and you can get the same content. Also, there's other options. If you have friends, you can always watch the lecture videos together, help each other understand the content, answer a couple questions, and then when you come to class, you also have a better understanding of it. Okay, study groups are wonderful. And lastly, if all else fails, there's also an option to be able to burn the videos onto a CD, a disc, pen drive, whatever, to be able to allow the students to bring it home and watch it at home if they have a computer, it's just not hooked up to the internet, or DVD player at home. What if the students don't actually watch the videos or preload the information, because sometimes it's through the textbook? Well, if they don't do that, when we start the discussion, we're going to really realize that as a class, be able to kind of see it. And with that, I'm going to ask the students to then kind of sit in the classroom. Their differentiated piece of the classroom piece is going to be either to watch the videos here at school during class, or to take the textbook and read through the textbook, the section that we're covering. Something that has prevented students from not doing the preloading after we start getting into our flipped classroom is that they don't like to be off to the side. They don't like to be off to the side doing something from the textbook or just doing the preloading when other students in the class are doing activities. And those activity pieces are a little bit more on the quote-unquote fun side, as students like to think it, because they're actually doing something besides just sitting in the desks and getting content. Finally, last question is, what is our new homework? At the beginning of a unit or beginning of a section, you are going to have videos to watch or textbook to read. So you're going to have all this preloading to do at the beginning. You'll have a list of videos and exactly what dates they're due, okay? And you can preview them, you can watch them the night before they're due, you can watch them, you know, whenever up to when they're due. So you have a lot of time to be able to access those videos. After we have applied the content in class and we've gone deeper in class with the content and we've actually discussed it, then you'll have some application pieces to do at home or some review pieces to do at home to show me that you can now do this on your own. But it's not going to be a matter of lecturing in class and then applying that content that night and trying to apply it that night. Okay, so you're going to have a lot of time in class to review, gain a better understanding of the content, delve a lot deeper into it, and then you're going to take and do that piece, that final piece before the test at home and show that you understand that application piece of it. If you have any further questions for me on the flipped classroom, things you think I can add to my frequently asked questions, I would love to hear from you, and you can reach me and message me here on YouTube. Thank you.